Hello and welcome to Counterpressed on The Ringer and Spotify. I'm in the studio with Gilly Flaherty, Kate Longhurst and Becky Taylor-Gill. On today's show, we're going to get hyped because Euros fever is just around the corner. It all kicks off on Wednesday. This is our last show before the tournament starts. Obviously, we'll talk about England's big 7-0 win over Jamaica and touch in on some other friendlies as well. Is everyone hyped?
Yeah.
There was a long pause. Are you?
Yes.
Yeah?
I'm so hyped.
Okay, good.
It feels like it's kind of come out of nowhere.
I was
think
literally
'cause
just
I've
thinking
been,
this morning.
Chaotic, and also I'm not going to this one, so I haven't had to do any of the we need to book this flight, etc., which is the first one I've not gone to since 20...
I thought you were still coming for the semis. TBC.
TBC.
Okay.
It's just so expensive, and
So
maybe we'll get there.
I don't think you're the only one just because you're not going feeling like that. I think that because we had those Nations League games and then a break and then this sort of abrupt friendly with lots of teams just playing one last friendly, it hasn't felt like the usual build-in where teams are playing maybe two friendlies and everyone's having this big send-off. It felt like England's big send-off was suddenly just appeared, and then the Nations League, which were tough games, it felt like the Euros needed to start closer to that. I sort of lost a bit and then I've come back.
I also think maybe this is just me, but I feel a little bit less excited. And I think it's just because it's not at home.
I mean, yeah, that happens.
That was so exciting. And for months I was counting down the days and it was so good. And I'm like, will anything ever top that? Probably not.
True. Kate, how are you feeling? Hyped?
Yeah, but I think it's come around quick as well. But I think because you said the Nations League, it's literally they've had the Nations League. They probably had about 3 or 4 days on holiday and now they're back in again. It's weird. I don't like having it nationals after the season when there's a big tournament. It's too much.
Also, maybe we're in holiday mode.
Maybe.
You're in retirement mode.
I'm in retirement
You're
mode.
pulling
football.
I can watch
that?
every game. So,
Jill, excited?
Yeah, I think, I felt a bit more excited
Well, we're doing really
after the
good at
game.
hyping, guys. Everyone's like, yeah.
No, but I think after the game yesterday when they had the music, the DJ was playing.
Was it DJ Tony?
I don't know. It wasn't. It was,
No,
it was a girlie
yeah.
who I didn't know.
But it was and then they were all standing underneath the banner, and it was sort of, I think it was compared to the last warm-up game where their send-off game and it was a boring draw. Then at least this was a bit more, there was goals, everyone was a bit more.
You know what we also had before the last one is that Netherlands game where we went a bit mental.
At Ellen Road.
Yeah. And that really got us into an absolute frenzy.
Well, Jessie and I were talking about how before that after that Ellen Road game, Billie Eilish was headlining Glastonbury, and Jessie and I went round on the Leeds ring road about 800 times.
Why?
And because it's really, anyone who's been to Leeds will know the ring
For fun?
road. No, it's a
So
nightmare.
hyped after the 6-0, was it 6?
Yeah.
Just going around the ring road.
And I think everyone did get a bit delirious at Ellen Road because they were singing Football's Coming Home and Serena was kind of trying to make everyone chill, but no one would chill. But last night, driving back from Leicester, Olivia Rodrigo headlining, listening to that on the radio, it was kind of a moment. So
There's
we could
also-
be,
It's also we are the holders now. Whoa. I'm so hyped. The delirium after that game was because I don't think it's hard to remember, but I don't think we went in being we're gonna win seriously. It was more
after Ellen Road.
okay,
locked
fine.
in.
But before that, it was just more of a silly yeah, it's coming home, obviously.
Yeah.
And now it's actually is anything but a win in this tournament a disappointment?
The pressure feels present, I think. You can definitely sense that being holders is a different sort of feeling.
It's less fun. I love being we were never an underdog, but I love being it's I've argued so many times with people over the years about when I was living in Italy, people would be like, God, England is so arrogant singing It's Coming Home all the time. And I'm like, it's ironic, guys. We're at that point, we were terrible.
And now we're good.
Now we're good. But at that point, it was ironic. I never actually thought it was. So now it's I don't know. Maybe
So
it's
we're not
the
allowed to sing it.
expectation.
If we've got expectation, we're not allowed to sing it.
No, we
just
can
can't
always-
not.
We can sing it
but-
whenever.
Yeah, you can sing it wherever.
Just
Give us a little rendition now.
football's coming
a bit
home.
more energy, Kate. Come on.
It's coming home.
Yeah, there we
It's
go. There we go.
coming
That's
And
what
now
I
you've
was
lost
getting.
every
coming.
listener that you've ever had.
And there's a target on England's back. and that is different. I have some big news before we get on to talking about England's friendly. We're on YouTube now, guys.
Oh, that's actually not fair because why today? Because, guys, this is actually the last week of my 20s. I turned 30 on Saturday. I still have 14 left of my 30 before 30 to do, and I'm going to do them. But last night I camped. I came straight here from...
Not from Glastonbury.
No, from my partner's parents' back garden in Chesham.
Some say the
I wondered why
Glastonbury
you
of,
came in with a
of the
big
north.
cooling
Oh,
bag
that was
thing.
just because we went to Costco,
Oh, okay.
which was also on my 30 before 30. We really hit
Okay.
some big ones yesterday. And I look like I've just been camping. So that's not actually fair that we're on YouTube today.
Well, welcome,
Don't look at me.
welcome to YouTube. We've had a bit of a refresh because we did a fun photo shoot a few weeks ago. So avid listeners and viewers will notice a bit of a rebrand, a bit of a fresh look. But of course, as is always the case on YouTube, like and subscribe, guys. Like and subscribe.
Wow.
I don't know where the buttons are.
Should we do some...
Wherever they are. And obviously our Spotify true heads who's been here since day dot, you can of course carry on watching us on Spotify. But if you want the YouTube experience, and I know lots of listeners have been messaging about when you're going to be on YouTube, when you're going to be on YouTube. We're on YouTube right now. And also there are old episodes, our Euro previews are going to be on there as well. So you can enjoy all of that good stuff. Okay, let's get into it then. Let's talk about England's 7-0 win over Jamaica after this. This episode is presented by Pepsi Max. Pepsi Max has always supported both women's and men's football. So to help make sure the next 50 years are as legendary as the last, they've made an inspiring film called Refresh the Game, featuring current stars like Lauren James and Leah Williamson, alongside legends like Pele. Refresh the Game celebrates the unapologetic challenger spirit and talent of women's football. Watch it now on Pepsi Max channels. Pepsi Max, proud sponsors of the UEFA Women's Euro this summer. So, King Power Stadium, good turnout, big DJ. It was
Were the
free.
tunes good?
The tunes were pretty good,
Yeah,
actually.
she was decent, to be fair.
I got excited. And England come out with a massive 7-0 win over Jamaica. To be honest, it's hard to take a lot from this game because not only are Jamaica, obviously, you know, the gap in the teams is huge. Jamaica, I think, are ranked 40th in the world, and there's a lot that's been written over the years about lack of investment and lack of funding in that squad. They were also missing tons of key players. So you had, a lot of younger, lesser known players with much fewer caps as well playing. So I think that was tough for them. But I guess for England, before they head out to Switzerland, they're literally flying out today. It was a way to sort of dust off the cobwebs, score a lot of goals, have a nice moment with the crowd. The vibes seemed good. The players looked happy, a lot of smiles. But Jill, we can't really sort of take tons from this result apart from good to get a win.
Yeah, I think Jamaica were poor, and I think that they only really had the one scare, which was obviously in the first half, where obviously the goal was disallowed. But then I think for me, I said it, I was working with 5 Live yesterday, and I said that I felt like with England, the worry was because Jamaica was so deep. They were so deep, but they were so open. It was mad. If you're doing a low block, you should be compact. But it was the complete opposite. There were so many gaps. But what was happening is that then what I said, England were then, you had Jess Carter going one side, bombing it. You had Lucy Bronze bombing it. And then you had Greenwood and Williamson. And for me, it was the incident that came about with the disallowed goal. That was, I think Williamson had gone up anyway, but it was Jess Carter. I think it was from like a set piece. Jess Carter and Kira Walsh, 2v1. And the Jamaican forward, Kira Walsh, hesitates to go. She starts really just near enough the halfway line. And because there's that hesitation and England don't deal with it, she then runs the length of the half, and then Jess Carter gets a good block in to make that corner. England don't deal with the corner. And thankfully for them, it was obviously ruled out. But what my worry was is that because you're coming up against Jamaica, who the level is not going to be the level you're coming up against France, for example, in the first game, you pick up them bad habits. And I still feel like if it was Bunny Shaw up top, there would have been a lot more problems for England, even on that counter-attacking. So people were talking about Toon had a great game. Obviously, she scores a couple of really good goals. But it was the Jamaican midfield was so poor that then you have the argument of, is Toon going to start? Should Toon be starting in that 10? Should it be ahead of Lauren James? And I'm like, it's difficult because you can only really play up against what you've come up against and what you're dealing with. You've got a midfield who, I think Toon ran past the midfield, and I was watching the Jamaican midfielder, and she was literally walking. Like she was seeing Toon run away. There was no energy to get back and mark her. So I think it's hard to take anything in that sense away because you come up against a team that really, one, you should be beating anyway, but two, were just not there. But the main thing I think for England was there's plenty of goals, different goal scorers as well, but also you've come away from a bogey game as such where you could have ended up not having a clean sheet. You come away with one.
Kate, the concerns that England will be thinking about, and Jill touched on them there, defending set pieces. Since the Phil Neville era, they've never been great at that, but they massively switched off with the goal that was eventually disallowed for offside. They don't react to the short corner. There was laziness, and I think the complacency probably comes from thinking like, oh, well, these players aren't a threat, right? So they'll have to make sure that they switch on against France and Netherlands, who'll be looking to exploit. But then again, in transition, which England look poor in time and time again, it doesn't help when you've got Walsh, Greenwood and Williamson who massively lack that pace. That's why Carter's in the side. There were moments with better players, Jamaica could have exploited that. And you look at France, the speed of their front line, the speed of a lot of their players, and that'll be something they'll be looking at and know that you win a turnover in a central area, you've got a good chance of beating England on the turn. And that was the only sort of maybe question mark or red flag, but it's always been there for England.
That's probably one of our biggest things so far. I think in the last few games, especially, we just look so vulnerable on the turnover and on the counter-attack. And in the Nations League, it was quite evident against Belgium away. Every single time Belgium went forward in the first half, I mean, it could have been about 7 at half time. And that's Belgium, with all due respect. They're not a nation that are probably going to look to progress really far in the tournament. They've got a good team and they've got good players in Tessa Woolard, but they made them look so vulnerable. Then the same against Spain. Now, of course, Spain are a different level. They're probably the favourites for the tournament. But every single time they're playing that high line, they look so vulnerable. And it doesn't matter what combination of defenders we put in. I think it's the same every single time. And whether that's the protection in front as well in midfield, you know, Keira Walsh is very good at what she does, but one of her main attributes, Gilly said about her hesitating to go across, she's not a quick player. She reads the game well, she picks up good positions. But as soon as you're getting countered on, that's not her strength to protect in front. And Georgia Stanway's just coming back as well. She gives a bit more energy, I think, in terms of getting back. But that's where our wingers are going to be really important as well. I think Lauren Hemp works so hard to get back in. Beth Mead works so hard to get back in. Chloe Kelly works so hard. But I think at the moment, it literally doesn't matter what combination we've had. We've had Niamh Charles at left back. We've had Millie Bright and Leah Williamson alongside each other. Now it's Alex Greenwood and Leah Williamson alongside each other. Are they too similar as defenders? Possibly. I don't think it's just a back four thing, but I think it's the whole protection in front. We just look so vulnerable. And maybe that is when we play teams like Jamaica, you can throw both fullbacks forward. Like Gilly said, Bronzy was going forward and Jess Carter was going forward, and we didn't really need to leave too much protection. When you play France, you probably can't be that exposed. But in terms of set pieces, it's not even like a height thing. I think with Millie, obviously, she brings a lot of height defensively, but it's like the short corners, the clever ones. Teams are going to look at that and go, how can we exploit them? Because we're so flat-footed. We don't react. And you look at the goal that got disallowed yesterday. The first one, okay, it comes off, I think it was Primus's heel and into the path of the other player, but we're still not reacting to that first ball and we're just watching. So they're the differences when you play the really good teams. That could literally be the difference between winning and losing the game, regardless of all the counter-attacking. I think we do look promising going forward. Getting Lauren James back is huge. I mean, you only had to look at her cameo yesterday. Okay, with greatest respect, it's against players that are maybe not as good as what we'll face. But I think that is the biggest problem going into these Euros is defensively, I think the last few games I've watched us, we do look very vulnerable.
Yeah, it was good to see Georgia Stanway get her first 90 minutes in ages. I was surprised she managed the whole game. And she's going to be critical, I think, because she is the only player with stability, but also a bit of speed in those moments. And I think her being back is massive, but you just got to hope that they can keep her fit. And I agree with you, Kate, just even getting 30 minutes from Lauren James is huge. You'd probably think it's too soon for her to start against France, but there's probably going to be a scenario in which England might need her to come on and dig them out of a hole, and it could come in that first game. So I think, for me, it's the same issues and concerns that you raised there. Is how do they maintain that defensive control in games, because they are so predictable in how they play and how they line up, with Stanway and Walsh being that cover, with everything going through those triangles all the time. And it does make it, I think, quite easy for another team to think, well, if we press and take Stanway and Walsh out of the game, we've got ample opportunity to exploit this back line where Carter is the only real speed. Bronze is actually still kind of fairly quick, but it's got that physicality as well. So it's going to be tough. Becky, what did you make of it while on your camping trip?
It is so hard to say. Like, I mean, obviously you've both said it. Like, it's really hard to judge because it's not the kind of standard that we will be playing against. You guys have made me really nervous. I was actually feeling okay, and now I'm like, oh God.
What, nervous about the Euros?
Yeah, it's all gonna
not get out of the group.
Yeah, don't.
So we've got a tough group.
Look, this is the thing, right, about this whole group of death situation, and it is a group of death, but you have to just apply the cliche of, if you want to be the best, you've got to beat the best. And I think there is a scenario in which if England beat France in that opening game, it squashes any of the narrative of they're going to struggle, they might not make out the group. And you set such a high standard. If they do win that game, I would give them a very good chance of getting to the final. If they don't get a result in the opener, that changes their dynamics.
It's all fucked.
Yeah,
that is quite.
I genuinely think
that is quite a lot to put on the opening game.
It feels like such a 50-50.
But then there's also like,
doors.
I think France is an interesting one because I think we always think of them as like a really good team, but actually, like, have they shown up that much in big tournaments over the past few years? I don't know if they have.
They're famous bottlers,
yeah.
So that should help. But we're going to be back on Friday previewing England's opener, so we won't look too far ahead to that game. But Becky, let's talk about World Cup and Euros, last Euros, so reflecting on that. And we were talking at the top of the show about how sort of delirious we were at Ellen Road and all those feelings going in. Do you look at this team and think this is a team that can win the Euros right now?
Yes, I do think it's a team that can win. I think it just feels so different talking about it because I'm like, I don't think I went in, like I said before, I don't think I went in last time being like, this is a team that can win it, like really, really confidently. Whereas now I think, yes, they can win it. And I think at least for them, and if not everybody else, like anything other than getting to the final is, I don't want to say failure. It's a big disappointment if they don't get to the final. And so it's just really difficult to judge because I also don't think we went into the World Cup thinking that we would really get to the final. And you touched on it there with the send-off game. We were quite stinky going to that World Cup, and we were stinky for a lot of the World Cup too. Yeah, so true actually. And we had to go through those penalties, and it looked a bit wobbly at times. I remember coming out because that first game that I came to was the Nigeria penalties. And I remember before the penalty started thinking, "Fucking hell, I've flown all the way across the world, like as far as you can go, and I've gambled on just going out for the knockout stages, and they're going to get knocked out on penalties in the first game that I'm here for." So I don't know, it just feels really different. And I think winning the Euros and then getting to the World Cup final has just set such a precedent for like what is success in this England team, which it's a really good place to be, but also it's like very different, like quite quickly very different, I think, from where we were when Serena started. Like, guys, Phil Neville. Like you said his name before and I was like, it's a name I haven't heard in years.
It feels like a decade ago.
It's like a different just a different thing and a different team and a different it's just so crazy that wasn't that long ago. And the expectations we had on that team were like nothing. No offence to them, but...
Jill, do you feel this team's in better shape and looking better than they were going into the World Cup?
Yeah, I think with how I've seen them play recently, I think they've been better in when they've lost the ball, like getting on the transition, pressing a bit better. I do feel like with the Euros, the one where we won it, I didn't think before the tournament, oh, we're going to go and win this. But as what I felt England had that is I felt like they had the luck as they went through that tournament. I think in that game, I said about it before previously, the game against Spain, I think Spain should have beat them. And I think they was very lucky not to have that result. I think they was lucky to win it. But then I felt like then it was sort of set up for England to go on and win it. I do think they've improved. But the thing that worries me the most with England is I think the chances that they give other teams is from their own turnover. A couple of times yesterday, Williamson just passed. You can't discourage it because she wants to pass forward and you want your centre-backs to be looking forward rather than going sideways or backwards. The problem is that when we do it, because we're so open, if against a better team, you're going to get punished. So it's like picking and choosing the moments, especially when you've got two fullbacks that more so Bronze. I think Jess Carter is improved. I think she went yesterday. I think her and Hemp was brilliant on the left-hand side. I do think she's a bit more reluctant to go as such too early. Whereas I think with Bronze, you can look up, she's already gone, mate. And I don't think sometimes that helps Williamson because I don't think sometimes she has then that outside pass to the right. So then I feel like she then forced it into midfield. That's my only really concern with England, I think, is when they turn the ball over, I think they look weak when teams are countering on them.
Yeah, I think that's a good point on the outball, especially with Williamson and Bronze. Okay, that's enough England chat for the moment. We're going to be talking about them on Friday show because obviously they open their tournament against France on Saturday. So we'll do our big England preview then. But let's talk about some of the other international friendlies next. So, some big results. First, let's start with France beating Brazil 3-2. So France had to come from 2-0 down. They managed to get a very tough opponent in Brazil, who obviously did pretty well at the Paris Olympic Games last summer. Carolyn scoring. But, to be fair to France, even though they looked wobbly for the first half of this game, they managed an impressive comeback, winning the game 3-2. But it's definitely something that they'll be thinking about heading into their opener against England. Kate, we were a little bit frustrated that England couldn't probably get a better opponent. Serena Wiegman did say before the match or last night that it was quite tough finding a friendly opponent in this window. But for France, they managed to get a really tough challenge in Brazil. Do you think conceding those 2 goals and being a bit wobbly and having a comeback will be a good thing, or is that something that will play on their mind on just how tough it was in their pre-tournament friendly, which should normally be something where you sort of calm the nerves?
I think it's a good thing because they've been tested and they've shown that they've have to come back from behind. So I think when you've got such a big game such as England coming up, if they go 1-0 down, 2-0 down, they know that they can overturn results now. Listen, France are always a bit chaotic. They're always having a bit of issues. There's nothing plain sailing at all. But I almost think you look at their results recently and their performances with a lot of the stuff that's been going on and some of the players that they've been missing out, and it's creating headlines. They've actually just got about doing their business on the pitch and almost look more together and resilient with that group of players and with the manager rather than before. And maybe sometimes it takes a bit of adversity for you to kind of come back and look really strong. But I think England players are probably feeling in good spirits from winning 7-0 and feeling great, and confidence is up and people have got goals, so they feel confident about scoring goals. But I think when you play a really tough team and you come back from 2-0 down, for me personally as a player, I would be absolutely buzzing thinking, bring on anyone. We can overturn any situation. We can play against the best teams in the world and get a result. We know how to deal with it, and just bring anyone on. That's what I'd be thinking as a player.
I'd absolutely rather have taken that result as a fan than a 7-0 win against a team that like you know that you're going to beat. I think Spain in the 2022 Euros is a really good example of, after that, I felt a lot calmer because I was like, oh, we know how to get out of a difficult situation. It's come at a point where we have time to work it out. We can overturn that result, and that confidence of like, yeah, we know that we can get any result from a difficult position. You take that in to the final where, you know, we conceded a goal and it wasn't as bad because we were drawing, but I felt calmer in that situation that, we know how to get out of this. So I think, if you look at both of those pre-tournament friendlies, I would much rather take the France game against a difficult opponent and being yeah, we've really come through on this.
And I suppose, Jill, going back to what you're saying about England conceding goals, maybe the solace for all of these top nations is everyone is conceding. Germany love to concede. France, they're all about their attack. They concede goals. But for France, the beauty is when you look at that team, Guiro got 2, but you've got Gianni, you've got Katoto, you've got Baltimore. Their attack is so strong, and they've got so much depth there that, again, they will know that even if our defence lets us down a little bit and we concede, we know our strikers are going to create opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, 1,000,000%. But I also think in regards to that, talking as a defender, yeah, I would be more fuming about conceding against Jamaica than I would against conceding against Brazil. I think because Brazil really impressed me anyway in the Olympics. But they're a good side. And I feel like, obviously, to know, it's always disappointing anyway to go 2-0 down, but then obviously they've managed to have that comeback. But I think if you'd have looked at it, I think even if it had been 7-1, 7-2 yesterday, I still think there would have been how have we let a team like Jamaica, who's no disrespect to them, but how are we letting them score goals against us? So I think Brazil are a very good team, and you got the opportunity there of the 2 warm-up games or the last send-off games, whatever they are. England really have picked a team that they're hopeful that they're going to get the result against, rather than it being if that had been England and Brazil, there's more probably a bit that's going to be more of a test for England. And obviously France have managed to deal with that test, and those goals that they've conceded, they'll be able to look back at them before now in this tournament especially and go, right, what are the little finer things now we need to work on? Whereas England didn't have that. They didn't have that challenge. They didn't have that test.
Sweden beating Norway 2-0. Looks like Norway might be having another tough tournament, even though their bracket and actually potential route to the latter stages, it looks quite
Do you
nice.
remember we smashed them?
I do remember when we smashed them. And they had a bad World Cup as well.
That was so fun.
They've got some tournament demons to try and exercise, but they lost 2-0 to Sweden. And another big team that conceded and had to come from goal down was Spain. They eventually beat Japan 3-1, but the story was kind of much more focused about what was going on off the pitch, because Aitana Bonmati was hospitalised with viral meningitis. She missed the game. She posted a picture from her hospital bed on Instagram, but she did leave hospital on Sunday, rejoined the Spanish camp. But then this morning, Spain have announced that Catacol, their goalkeeper, has tonsillitis. So a bit of illness running through the camp. Kate, their openers against Portugal. Gilly's covering it. So I know you'll be in a little bit of prep mode, Jill. But
maybe I'll go to her then.
Jill,
She's
we're
so prepared.
on video now.
Wednesday. You got time. That must be quite stressful. I mean, they potentially got an opportunity. They've recently smashed Portugal in the Nations League. So they've got an opportunity to perhaps ease their way in. But is it a bit stressful to be in a camp environment where your best player and Ballon d'Or winner, nearly dropped my water everywhere for the YouTubers, is very ill, and you're losing your goalkeeper, and the players behind her are much more inexperienced, far fewer caps. Is that a little bit of a nervy start to the tournament?
Probably say it's not ideal. If Hannah Hampton got tonsillitis, what we doing?
Is that wood?
Touch everything.
The good thing with Spain is they have a very strong squad.
Is tonsillitis infectious?
Only if you kiss someone, I think. Depends
Well,
what's
I don't
going on.
know. Any doctors listening?
What's the
Don't
lesbianism
start
in the
Don't start
Spain
with a
team
rumor.
looking like?
Any doctors, please let us know. We don't actually know any
don't
of this.
Should I
know.
Google it?
Is it?
It's all right. We'll
Well,
talk
anyway,
about it after.
Hey Siri, is tonsillitis infectious?
Breaking news here.
Okay, she's not
Well, that's
speeding
gone
it.
down well.
Siri's
Maybe
still
Siri's
asleep.
got tonsillitis.
It's not contagious, but
it's
the
not.
virus that causes it is.
So I think there's obviously there's a
Okay.
bit of a virus going around.
Okay.
Essentially.
Well, yeah, it's not ideal, but they have a very strong squad. I think their group, it's got a few like difficulties, but they're playing two teams that they've played a hell of a lot in the last few years, like Belgium and Portugal. I feel Spain, Belgium, and Portugal play each other every other week.
Yeah, they've been in the Nations League.
Yeah, so it's Italy as well that you would like to think that Spain can get through that group fairly comfortably. But I mean, I guess more so for like other players, because when things are tough, who do they look to? So if you've got a goalkeeper, you want your set goalkeeper. If you've got a world-class player like Bonmati that can get you out of anything, that's the player that you're looking to. So, of course, that's going to disrupt them. Also, for her, I don't know what sort of state she's going to be back. Of course, she's going to try and come back and play, but you never know. Like, a bit of illness can really knock you off.
Now I'm Googling
like,
viral meningitis. God, there's so much to...
Especially
How
if
you
you
play.
Know about the
if
Spain
you've been
team.
hospitalised as well. It's
Yeah,
not necessarily going to be a
it's a
quick
bit scary, isn't it?
straight back into the squad. And I know there was videos of them training this morning. Didn't have a chance to try and spot Bonmati in the very pixelated video that the Spanish Football Federation were streaming this morning. So I'll have another look after we finish recording. But yeah,
Viral meningitis is contagious.
Oh.
God.
So then, like, she must be past the contagious. I mean, like,
I mean, I don't know.
maybe that's the only way to get Spain
think
out. It's like-
7 to 10 days on its own is what
I think-
NHS says.
I think there's a lot. I think it points to the fact there's a lot of question marks about her, not just whether she'll play in the opening game, but how present she'll be in Spain's first few games in the whole tournament. And I think Spain have rightly so kind of kept details quite minimal, and they're probably assessing her as well. I think Montse Tomé said after the Japan game that her condition was controlled and there were no specific deadlines on her return. Then she obviously ended up rejoining with the camp. But you would also think that they maybe have the luxury that they can protect her and save her a little bit more, because you don't want to rush her knowing she is going to be a core part of Spain's run to ideally the final. They are the bookies' favourite for this competition, World Cup winners. They're going to want to add this, and she's going to play a key part in that, Jill.
Yeah, and I also think as well, it's different with an injury, you know, because if an injury, you've hurt something, you can strap it up, you can try and push through it. But I think when it's something that's like an illness, if you ever tried to play with like man flu, do you know what I mean? Like, do you know what I mean? It's awful. So can you imagine that extent? Like, well, yeah, you know what I mean. But if we've ever tried to play with like a cold or, do you know what I mean? Even like a sore throat, anything like that, it takes it out of you.
Also, it's one of those things where if you push it, you're just going to make it longer.
Yeah.
But then if, Spain have a relatively easy group, as we've just said, like, is there a world in which they just save her? They just say, you rest for this time and we'll bring you back when we need you in the knockouts.
I think they can do that. If she's not ready, they can definitely get away with that. I think there's by far enough depth there.
Listen, as someone that just had laryngitis again, I will say, you just got to rest.
Yeah, rest and recover. Look after your bodies, guys. It's important. Tana, if you're listening.
And I know she is.
Hydration is key.
It'll be a massive shame as well if we don't see her, because the last Euros, Alexia Putellas tore her ACL just days before the tournament started.
Spooky.
And so obviously you want to see the best players playing at major tournaments. So I really hope that she is going to be well enough. But I mean, she was out of hospital 24 hours later, so that, I guess the signs are good.
Do you think she just went to hospital just to get in everybody else's heads? Like, oh, I'm sick.
It was 4D chess. Well, guys, we'll leave it there. This is, as I say, the last show before everything kicks off.
And it's the last show of my 20s, actually. So
And
that's
it's
the most
also your
important
20s,
That's
so
the
thing.
most
it's
important
crazy
thing.
big day today. And we're going to be here throughout the tournament, of course. We're going to be back on Friday as we get very excited for England's first game, but we're going to be checking in not just after big England games, not just before big England games, but throughout, talking about all the group stage matches, the knockouts. I'm going to be heading out to Switzerland. Jill's going to be on the radio. Kate's going to be doing something.
Watching it at
Gonna be
home.
there.
We're all
Do you know
going to be
what else
loving
is
it.
happening on Friday? The Studs Club night.
Studs Club
Get your
night.
tickets.
Get your tickets.
I'll be DJing. I haven't confirmed Kate as my go-go dancer yet.
Go-go dance. Is it paid?
I'll pay you.
Is it a paid position?
You need the work.
I do.
Yeah, there's loads of amazing events happening, not just in London for the London listeners, but in Manchester, everywhere. We'll probably, hopefully, see some of you out in Switzerland. We'll hopefully see some people out in Switzerland as well. So make sure you check out our group stage previews, A and B, C and D, on the feed, on YouTube, on Spotify video. But for now, get excited, make your playlists, get
There's
your
a
shirts
Studs playlist,
out.
actually. You don't
There's
even
a
need
Studs
to.
playlist. Get hyped. We're going to be back on Friday talking about those first set of games on Wednesday and Thursday. And of course, looking ahead to England, France. We'll see you then.
Should we sing them out again with some It's Coming Home?
Everyone's
Wow, from the beginning.
Wow, from the very beginning.
It's in home before. Go on, Jill. They just know.
This is quite sad.
Gotta throw it away. Yeah!